All right, guys, so we're on page 67 now, and we're going to take a look at a couple example proofs. So check out this first one. We have a picture here, P, Q, R, and S, a few segments. We're given some information, and we want to prove that PQ is congruent to RS. So, guys, we always start with our given information. So, we're going to take a look up here. We're going to look at what's given. And in this particular example, all they want us to do, guys, is write down our reasons on the right-hand side for each statement that they've already provided. So, if we check this statement out, Q is the midpoint of PR. I think that looks a little bit familiar, okay? Where does that come from? Comes from our given information, okay? Because again, we always start with our given information. So our reasoning then, what we would say is our reason is given. Okay? Because that information is given to us. All right, so we know that Q is the midpoint of PR. All right, from there, their next step is to say that PQ is congruent to QR. Now, where do you think they got that idea? PQ is congruent to QR. Well, what did they just say Q was in the previous statement? That's right, Q is a midpoint, and guys, what does a midpoint do? That's right, it cuts things in half. All right, so what we could say for our reason then, we know PQ is congruent to QR because of the definition of a midpoint. All right, halfway there, let's check out this next statement that they write. So their next statement, guys, is QR is congruent to RS, and that should look familiar because, well, it's already on the page right up here. So that would be another given statement. So reason number 3, given. All right, now we're almost done, guys. How do we get from step number 3 to step number 4? Let's take a look. They say in step number 3 that QR is congruent to QS. And then in step number 4, they make their final statement that PQ is congruent to RS. Okay, so let's figure out how they jumped from PQ to RS. What allows us to do that? In step number 2, they said PQ and QR are congruent, okay? And then they make a statement comparing QR to RS. So, guys, remember, what's that property where we kind of cut out the middleman and jump from the beginning to the end? Yeah, that's right, the transitive property. So our last reason here would be the transitive property of congruence. Okay, that allows us to kind of jump from the beginning to the end. If PQ is the same as QR and QR is the same as RS, then we can draw that conclusion about PQ and RS, okay? So that would be it, okay? That's an example of a proof that we might do with some segments. Again, they're helping us out a little bit by putting all the statements in. So, guys, let's look at part B. Let's see if we can complete this one now by putting in all the statements, all right? So, track along with me here. We're going to bump down here. We have some angles. They give us the reasons this time, and we want to provide the statements. All right? So let's check it out, guys. Look at the given information first. Remember, we always want to start off there. In fact, that's their first reason. So what do you think we're going to write down first here for our statements? That's right. Angle 1 and angle 2 are supplementary. And I'm going to abbreviate because I don't have enough room to write the full word. Perfect. So we always start with the givens, okay? Every day of the week and twice on Sunday. All right, so step number 2, the reason they have listed there is definition of supplementary angles. Well, what does the definition of supplementary angles tell us? That's right. It tells us that supplementary angles add up to 180. So we know that angle 1 plus angle 2 equals 180. Okay? So the measure of two supplementary angles is always going to add up to 180. All right? Now, guys, they list one more given on our reason here. So what's the other piece of given information? If we jump back up here, check it out. Our other given statement is the measure of angle 1 is equal to 68 degrees. Well, perfect. If we know angle 1 is 68, we can go ahead and plug that in here, right? And that's what they're going to do for our next step. So let's do that, guys. If we plug that in here, 68 degrees plus the measure of angle 2 is equal to 180, okay? That would illustrate the substitution property, and that sets up an equation that we can now solve for angle 2. And that's our goal, right? We want to prove that angle 2 is equal to 112 degrees. So, let's do it. The very last thing we need to do here to solve for angle 2, guys, obviously would be to subtract that 68 over, right? So that's why they have subtraction property for their reason over here. And so on the left side for our statement, we just need to go ahead and solve that out. So if we subtract that out, guys, measure of angle 2 is going to equal 180 minus 68, so that would be 112 degrees, which is exactly what we were trying to prove from the beginning. So there you have it, guys. One example where we provide all the reasons, one example where we provide all the statements. So now I want you guys to try to put that together and do it on your own. So there's a few practice problems that I want you to do. Get started on that. If you have questions, let me know. All right, good luck.